So you didn't get a Switch 2. Well, to alleviate some of the pain, why not think about upgrading your Switch 1 with a new controller? Enter the Hyperion 2. If you want to get 10% off this controller, make sure to use the code Bits of Time at the link listed in the description. I'll have that below. But let's get into the controller before you run off. I will say I did have someone wonder if this was a Switch 2 when I was out and about, probably because I had the colors set to blue and red, and they are quite a bit bigger and more bulky than the original Joy-Con, so I can kind of see where they were going. Right out of the box, you get a sticker, which that's pretty cool, but it comes with a carrying case for the controller themselves and this little clamshell device. That's pretty awesome, because that is a problem that I will address here in a little while, but we'll get to that. Sliding them on is just as easy as the Joy-Cons you're used to, and you can really see the difference in size here. Having the curves at the bottom of the controllers helps out quite a bit and just makes it have that more uniform feel. They are definitely more bulky, but they feel really good in the hands. So it's definitely an upgrade in the ergonomics. It really reminds me of the Steam Deck with how they curve down at the bottom there. And that does seem to be one of the mottos of the company for these controllers, so I'm not too familiar with them. I've seen some of their designs before, but their tagline is a gaming accessory company that focuses on innovative gaming peripherals with cutting-edge performance. All I know is it feels pretty darn good in the hands, and that's the most important part when you're trying to play handheld. Well, and all these colors you can do. So if you like to tinker around, you can do that with the lights and the vibrations. It's really easy to do. You just hold the buttons and flick and look at the colors. They're changing immediately. There's a bunch of different settings that you can easily switch between. Color choice, intensity of the colors, whether you want them to strobe, and of course a much needed feature for myself, you have to be able to turn off the lights. I don't want to have them on all the time, whether that's just for a personal taste or I want to save the battery life so they don't get drained too quickly. The intensity of the rumble vibrations can also be increased or decreased, which is good because I found the default to be a bit too high for my liking. I've had enough of that with my rumble pack from the N64 days. These magnetic faceplate covers also come off, so if you feel like tinkering around a bit more, there you go, an interesting option if you're into the whole customization part of this. They do have the Hall Effect joystick, so none of that pesky Joy-Con drift that you may or may not be used to with your current Joy-Con, so that's always fun to see. Another selling point for some people is that they have micro switch buttons. All the A, B, X, Y, the D-pad, the triggers, all of that is micro switches. And that sounds cool unless you're clicky sensitive like me. When I'm playing handheld, I'm usually out in public and not at home, and I find that the buttons are far too noisy for me, where I start getting a little self-conscious a little bit. It's not for every game that I play, but now this is it's just a personal preference, and it seems to vary greatly from person to person, but here's a button test comparison for you. Here's a Pro controller for comparison. And to make me such a hypocrite, again, this is in my own personal home, here's my keyboard. Moving away from the actual clickiness of the buttons, they do feel good to press, and that's because they are much larger than the tinier options on the Joy-Cons. You still don't get a proper D-pad here either. This is truly an upgraded Joy-Con, so keep that in mind for certain types of games you may want to play in the future. But speaking of games, I didn't have any trouble playing a more click around the screen game with a roguelike deck builder here. The controller felt snappy. I know you don't have to worry about input lag or anything like that in this sort of game, but it was easy to get from all the options on the screen that I needed to. And likewise, when I'm doing some platforming goodness in Super Mario 3D World, I have no qualms with the precision and quality of the buttons and the controls. Though with this controller being bulkier, which is a boon in most aspects, it's not in this one because it no longer fits in my Sheikah Slate Switch case, which I've had since launch in 2017. Now this could be a problem for some people if they're like me and don't want to change up the routine. Now it does come with that nice protective carrying case, clamshell contraption. At least it's easy to throw in my bag alongside with my Switch, but I do have to then switch out my Joy-Cons with this one when I get to my destinations. Of course, you could just buy a bigger case. Overall, what do I like? I really like the feel of it. The ergonomics are great. It's got this modern looking design. There's customization, so whether it's the colors or the actual faceplates, that's a fun thing to do. The button size, and it comes with a carrying case for the controllers themselves. That's a nice boon. And what I don't like are the loud button sounds when you're clicking down on them. It doesn't fit in my case, and it's not compatible with my new Switch 2, which obviously there's no magnets on this one. We still have the rail thing to go on to the OLED Switch and the regular Switch. So make sure to go check out their website and browse the other controllers that maybe you could pre-order. But again, use the code BITSOFTIME to get 10% off. Happy hunting. Just while you're looking for that Hyperion 2, maybe you can find something else you want to pre-order. Whatever you want to do, you do you. So there you have it. And when you get or don't get your new controller, well, here's some Switch games you should play. And hey, they should work on your Switch 2 whenever you get to that in the future as well. But for now, this is your upgrade.